to South Korea and the Korea International Circuit. The Audi RE LMS Cup returns to Korea for the third time since 2013, and the current series leader Alex Young, along with three other drivers, are currently in Germany representing Audi, competing in the legendary Nürburgring 24 hours race. We have a feature story coming up later in the program. The Korean International Circuit has a combination of both high-speed corners and the hard brakings, and of course it has a really long home straight, and it's the longest circuit that the Audi RE LMS Cup will compete on in 2015. And before, I'm sure that we're about to enjoy another fantastic race here in Korea. But before all the cars move off the grid, now it's our time to say hi to our commentator.
After a great start to the season in Zhuhai, China 4 weeks ago, the Audi R8 LMS Cup returns to the Yongam circuit in South Korea for rounds 3 and 4 of the season. There are some new names into the series this weekend, from experienced campaigners to complete rookies, but all of them will be looking to take advantage of the absence of reigning champion Alex Young, the Malaysian having opened his title defence with an almost perfect weekend in Zhuhai. 12 months ago, Frankie Cheng, who like Alex Young is absent this weekend, set the pole time in qualifying ahead of fellow title contender Andre Couto. Cheng won the opening race ahead of reigning champion Adelie Fong and Young, but in race 2 it was Alex Young who claimed the first of his 5 wins for the season, ahead of Rahel Frey and 2012 Cup champion Marchi Lee. Things are getting underway down in pit lane, and the weather promises to be fantastic, with clear skies and temperatures in the mid-20s, which will make things easier on the drivers across their 30-minute, 12-lap journey. Before we get underway, let's take a look back at how the season opener at Zhuhai played out. Rahel Frey started from pole position in round 1, having won the Cup's first ever Super Pole shootout in qualifying, but she locked up into the first turn, allowing Alex Young to sneak by on the inside and into the lead. Newcomer Aditya Patel was pushing Frey hard for second and nearly went by her at one stage by using his push to pass, but in the end, he just ran out of time. Up front though, reigning champion Alex Young opened his title defence in fine form with victory. Second went to Rahel Frey, and third on his Cup debut, Aditya Patel. The field got in position for the Cup's first ever standing start, but sawdust had been placed on the track in earlier unrelated sessions. All 20 cars got away cleanly first time, and the crowd held their breath watching the action into the first turn. Alex Young held onto the lead with Marchi Lee in second, barely ahead of Thomas Fjordbach after the Danes' great start, but there was contact between them and Marchi was forced wide and he slipped down the order. Further back, Alex Au and KOU had a great battle as the track continued to spray up plenty of dirt and sawdust. Several cars peeled off into the pits, and moments later the race was red flagged due to the conditions of the circuit. According to the regulations, with fewer than 50% of laps completed, no points were awarded. So here's how they stand after the first race weekend. Reigning champion Alex Young sits on top of the point standings with 25 points, clear of Rahel Frey, Aditya Patel, Marchi Lee and Frankie Cheng. First opened in 2010, the 5.615 kilometre 18-turn Korea International Circuit was designed by Herman Tilke, the man responsible for many of the world's leading Formula One circuits. Located near the port city of Mokpo on the southern tip of the Korean peninsula, the circuit is 400 kilometres south of the South Korean capital of Seoul. Featuring an anti-clockwise rotation, there are 9 right-hand corners and 9 left-hand corners, with a mix of long straights, high-speed sweeping corners, and a very technical close to the lap. Temperatures, as we say, are in the 20s. It's very comfortable for the fans and the competitors. It's late in the day, so we shouldn't see too much drama as they settle themselves into the rhythm for the third round of the Audi R8 LMS Cup from South Korea International Circuit. Great view. You can see the fans down on the grid. KOU, of course, a star in his home country and very popular amongst fans. He's probably spent more time out of the car with his thumb in the air than he has on the button for push to pass out on circuit. It has been a great weekend so far, and of course for KO and Andrew Kim, it has been great to be here this weekend for their home race. Qualifying earlier today saw some very exciting competition. Of course, we have 5 new competitors here this weekend. We'll explain the reason why that has become the situation a little bit later in the program. But the new competitors mixed in with the series regulars are going to have a good 30-minute session ahead of themselves. So after the pole shootout, Super Pole, of course, Jean-Carl Vernet wound up on top on his debut in Audi R8 LMS Cup, with Rahel Frey taking position number 2. She is in a great position to attack, as she did from the front row at the first round of the championship back at Zhuhai a month ago. Miles Moroney, the driver from the USA, he was the youngest man ever to take part in the Asian Le Mans Series in a prototype a number of years ago. We are heading now down to pit lane, where Sophie was joined by Bernd Gers, the head of Audi China Racing Operations.
Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. And we know there are some new faces this weekend, and I understand there is a lot happening in the world of Audi driving experience. Can you tell us about it all?
Yes, this is a very special weekend for Audi Sport Customer Racing Asia. We are not racing only here in Korea for the race rounds 3 and 4. We are also racing in Germany for the 24 hours race at the Nürburgring. And 4 of our drivers are actually in Germany right now and starting at 4 o'clock German time, and we'll race and try to get a good position in this endurance race. Here, our drivers here are well prepared. We have actually new faces here for our drivers that are in Germany. For example, we have Jake Parsons, who is the winner of the Formula Master Series from 2 weeks ago. And we have Jean-Carl Vernet, who is very experienced GT driver and participant of the Blancpain. To see them here performing together with the local heroes, Keo Woo and Andrew Kim from Korea. So I wish them good luck.
Well, thank you so much for bringing us so many information. And now it's our time to take a look at the Saturday warm-up session from the Nürburgring.
Hello Korea! Welcome to the 24-hour race on the Nürburgring, the famous race here in Germany, and it's also called the Green Hell. We are standing here with all of the drivers who are participating for the first time in an all-Asian team, and all these drivers have been also driving during the Audi R8 LMS Cup. You see in the background here the cars which will participate a little bit later. Let's ask Alex about the Green Hell.
Well, it's called the Green Hell because it's probably the most difficult race in the world by far. You know, it's 25 kilometers, 100 turns or something. And the weather changes all the time. You know, that's another challenging aspect about this race, is that you can be bright and sunny 1 minute and you can drive around to the back of the circuit and it can be snowing. It makes it very challenging. Even when it's dry, it's so tricky to drive. You know, I mean, it's all fast speed, high speed corners here. You need a car with a great balance on it, very good handling capabilities if you want to be quick. Lucky we have one.
Marci, do you know all the 100 corners by heart?
I hope so by now, because we have a very big preparation race. We have a VNN 9 and VNN 2 and a qualification race, and we're looking forward for this weekend.
And for the first time, Sean Tong, who is part of our Young Driver Development Program, is also participating, and I would like to ask him a question. Sean, how about your preparation within the Young Driver Development Program and the preparation for the 24-hour race?
First of all, I feel really glad to be with the team. We actually did a training course before we went into the actual race. We did one day in a shuttle bus where we need to follow an instructor, and they will point out the different corners in the track which we need to pay special attention.
So out of more than 150 vehicles, we qualified actually within the top 40. So that's a really, really great achievement. So Frankie, for tomorrow, what's our strategy?
Our strategy, obviously, finishing the race, and I do believe that with 4 of us working together smoothly and the car performing very well, we should have a very promising result. And probably myself and Alex will do a little bit more in the night, because we both have been experienced racing in the 24 hours Le Mans, and also we did the 24 hours Nürburgring before.
So then in Korea, wish us all the best luck, and you also have a good race in Korea. Bye bye.
Yeah.
Great to hear from the team there in the Nürburgring as they embark on their 24-hour challenge over the coming hours. Last year, title contender Andre Couto started 5 of the 6 rounds from pole position, taking the first race win on every occasion. In fact, Frankie Cheng, who we just heard from Germany, he set the top qualifying position here 12 months ago. And he too went on to win the opening race. That puts a fair bit of pressure on series rookie Jean-Carl Vernet, who claimed pole position earlier today. Strategy was the key word ahead of Superpole, with drivers spending a lot of their pre-race practice time working out where they could best utilise their push to pass, because that's one of the hallmarks of the Audi R8 LMS Cup, is the ability to give yourself that 50 horsepower extra push. Where they could use it, what it would mean for their qualifying position, that's now a thing of the past. It's now down to the opening 30-minute race. As you can see, conditions are good, and it's going to be a very big drag race. KOU is going to have to put a lot of this behind him as he gets his mind focused on the job at hand. He's been testing here, he's been very quick. Andrew Kim too has also been quite quick on his debut in the car, so the 2 Korean drivers will pose a threat as we get through this race. Be interesting to see how Vernet does. Of course, we spoke about him earlier. He is a former Indy Lights champion, open wheel star in the USA, and he has been very competitive behind the wheel of a GT car. Earlier today, he made his first run in the GT Asia Series in a Bentley, part of the Volkswagen family group, of course, and ran quite competitively. Now he's back behind the wheel of an Audi R8. A couple of weeks ago, he was in Monza in Italy for the Blancpain Series, the endurance championship, the leading GT3 championship in the world, and finished on top of the podium with his co-drivers. So he has had plenty of experience behind the wheel of an R8 in 2015 already. He showed that in qualifying. Rahel Frey looked like she would take pole position, her second pole position of the 2015 season, turning laps in the 209s. 12 months ago, she was in the 211s. We have Mark down there in pit lane. He will give us a bit of an idea as to how things are playing out.
Well, earlier this morning, of course, we had one of the new features in the Audi R8 LMS Cup this season, which is the Superpole qualifying shootout session. Now, the top 8 drivers then got a chance to do one single lap each. Some of the usual suspects in there, but one of the more surprising faces was Andrew Kim, 24-year-old driver who's behind me. He's technically an amateur or so-called gentleman driver racing in the Cup, and you would think that because he's Korean, he perhaps knows this track. He's told me this is only his second race here, so he was complaining that he didn't actually do that qualifying session as fast as he would have liked. He's already up in 5th position, so he's definitely going to be one to look for, and if he could get onto the podium, it would be quite the story here today. Of course, further up on the grid, we have a formidable front row of Jean-Carl Vernet and Rahel Frey with Aditya Patel in 3rd. So it's going to be pretty hard for Andrew Kim to break into that top 3, but perhaps with the home fans cheering him on, the Koreans with, of course, KOU as well in 4th, they could perhaps get onto that podium.
As the Audi R8 LMS Cup evolves, it is important that improvements be made and regulations are refined and enhanced.
We've got some really exciting regulation changes this year for the Audi R8 LMS Cup. The one that the viewers will most notice is definitely Superpole. All of the drivers go out and do a 15-minute qualifying session, and then the top 8 from that session will get to do a single lap of qualifying. They all go out in reverse order, one car effectively on its own on track, and they try to set down the best time to set the qualifying for the first race.
Then we have another change for push to passes. You have to split your push to passes in qualifying for the first session qualifying, and then for Superpole. So it's you have to gamble. It's really interesting for the spectators, but even for the drivers, because you don't know what other drivers do.
This year we have 2 types of starting procedure. So as in the past, we have a rolling start for race 1, and then in race 2 we have a standing start. Colleagues in Germany have spent quite a lot of time developing a system.
We developed a launch control which allow the driver to, when you want to start the car, to push the throttle completely down, release the clutch as quick as possible, and all the work will be done by the launch control to control the slip of the tires, and the give him the best possible acceleration.
The system will make the work for the driver, honestly. So it's interesting to watch because it's so noisy and so loud.
We this year introduced a set of new rear wing supports, which will bring the position of the wing around about 150 millimeter more to the back. The effect of this will be that at the same wing angle you will have a higher downforce as before.
It means we have more aerodynamic on the rear axle. The rear axle is going to be more stable for the race, for the long distance. This is really, it's even nicer to drive, honestly.
One of the features we are introducing in the R8 LMS Cup this year is our new brake balance system. This system will allow a much better brake pressure distribution between the front and the rear wheels, and on the same hand it allows more brake force in the rear compared to the last year's car.
Some other changes we've got, the drivers have now got 2 sets of tyres to use all race weekend instead of the one that we've had in the past.
It will give us a better performance of the car, higher grip, and this should result in better lap times than the years before.
We already saw it in qualifying, we had faster times. It's a different tyre compound, and the setup changes a little bit into an understeer with these new tyres, but you just have to adapt as a driver.
It's great to hear from Rahel Frey. Nice to see her starting on the front row. She was talking to me earlier in the weekend and explained that this is a very good opportunity with Alex Jung, who's leading the points, of course the 2014 champion, to actually take advantage of his absence and get a good score on the board. And she has Jean-Carl Vernet next to her on the grid. The likelihood of Vernet completing the rest of the season is probably not high, so she doesn't need to consider what impact she will have on the championship. She needs to make the most of it. We were explaining earlier that she qualified with a 2:09. 12 months ago, she qualified a little bit further back down the order, a 2:11.9. So she's found over 2 seconds. In fact, the pole man, Jean-Carl Vernet, with a high 2:08, was 2 seconds quicker than Frankie Cheng was 12 months ago when he sat on pole position. 12 months ago, of course, was the first time that many of these teams had actually seen the South Korean Formula One circuit, last used for F1 in 2013. The racing then was pretty impressive. Frankie Cheng, of course, started pole, and as was the case through all 6 rounds last year, he won from the pole position. Alex Jung picked up the win in the second race and then started a battle with Andre Couto that would go all the way to the final round at Abu Dhabi, with Jung claiming his maiden championship victory. We've got KOU on screen, celebrity in his home country, a leading television personality with a motoring program here in South Korea, so very well respected by the fans and very well respected by his competitors. He's been a little bit hit and miss at times with his performances, but certainly at his home circuit, as has been proven by his second row starting position, he really rises to the occasion. There's young Aditya Patel. He made his debut, the Indian driver here. He made his debut at the last round, the first round of the championship at Zhuhai, and was very strong. Finished on the podium on debut, may well have finished in position 2, and had every opportunity to challenge for another podium in race 2, because prior to that race being unfortunately brought forward and pulled up after 2 laps. There will be another round of the series to replace that. It was a classified race. Alex Jung was classified as the winner of that race, but points weren't awarded because we did not cover 50% of race distance. So during practice, we had the first session, unfortunately, was a little bit of a mishap with timing, so we're unable to award times for session number 1. Session number 2, the drivers went out to get themselves acclimatised again with the circuit, and unfortunately, the rain started to fall halfway through the session, and that severely limited their dry running. It's the only rain that we've had here this weekend. It happened to be partway through practice session number 2 for the Audi R8 LMS Cup. Stefano Mattesi was very impressive during the sessions. Of course, he ran here last year, so he had a little bit of knowledge to work from, and he was running inside the top 3 through much of practice, and again inside the top 8. So he's very happy with his performances here, and ran very strongly during the stages of the opening round at Zhuhai. See the cars on the grid, and they are preparing. Now we're heading back down to Mark with a bit more of an update.
Well, as you can see, the grid has pretty much cleared behind me. Just one or two engineers and mechanics with each driver. So this is the final few moments before these cars are going to get underway for the formation lap. They'll just be getting into the zone, thinking about how they're going to go through their particular corners that they've been studying through with their engineers in the pre-race sessions and the qualifying. They've been looking through the data, seeing where they can improve. And so this is just the final moments. You can feel the tension now. The crowd are getting excited. We're just waiting for the green lights to go, and they'll be around in just a few moments' time. They'll do one formation lap and then into that rolling start. So just a few moments' time, we'll be getting underway here in Korea. Back to you guys up top.
Thanks, Mark. It's going to be very interesting to see how the race plays out. One of the words that's been used quite regularly across the course of this weekend is challenging. And the challenging isn't the length of the circuit, the long straights. It's got a lot to do with the technical sector of the lap, which is the last, third sector of the lap here at Korea International Circuit. And the drivers have a lot of low-speed corners to come in and out of, setting themselves up into the run onto the front straight, which you can see there behind a slight kink, which is termed corner 18, and a very slow, almost stop first gear corner for some of the GT cars into turn number 1. And we're taking a look at Jeffrey Lee, long-time Audi competitor. As the eye's on, he's been very competitive in this series over recent years, having a bit of a mixed run this year so far. Had a bit of bad luck with some contact at Zhuhai, which set him a little bit back behind the 8-ball, so not quite where he likes to be. Very competitive driver from Chinese Taipei, has been a long-time supporter, again, of the Audi product, so he will be looking to try and improve on his qualifying position. But Rahel Frey will be the one looking to make up for Alex Jung's absence. She doesn't have Frankie Cheng to contend with. And she does have to, though, watch out for young Aditya Patel. The Indian driver made his debut at Zhuhai. He has experience with the Audi R8. Ashraf Diwal, the Malaysian driver, has been quite quick at various stages, a former equestrian champion in his home country. So has made the switch across to racing in the Audi R8 LMS Cup Series. Aditya Patel was very competitive at the first round. He has experience racing these cars in Europe, and he showed that he will be a title challenger. Very nice guy, very nice to talk to, very aware that he is representing his country, and has been very gracious with his time with both his fans and with other competitors, and certainly with us in the media, which is always nice. And he has proven to be a very, very good competitor. So you see the cars lined up 2 by 2. They will not be making a standing start. Race 2 tomorrow, we will see the standing start. There'll be the second ever standing start in the 4 seasons of Audi R8 LMS Cup. In the past, it has all been about the rolling start. So cars get into formation 2 by 2. The race leader controls the field. They come to a line which is across the circuit, a little bit further back from the field, just as you look at the vision there. Once they get across what they call that control line, the lead driver, which in this case is Jean-Carl Vernet, can accelerate when he's ready up until the start-finish line. So when you see that line in front of him immediately there behind the Audi R8 pace car, once he is in that gap, he can make the choice as to when he wants to accelerate. So the idea from his perspective is to make sure he catches Rahel Frey and the field behind him out of place. So he's hoping that he can get the jump on them. The other thing they need to do is the drivers behind him almost need to anticipate when he jumps. But if they cross the line before him, then they are given an automatic drive-through penalty, and that works against them. You saw young Jake Parsons, the Australian driver, the leader of the Formula Masters China Series, which is one of the feeder categories in essence for the Audi R8 LMS Cup. He's been very competitive so far this year, and was given the opportunity to join the field here this weekend at South Korea. His debut in a GT car. And unfortunately for him, like a couple of the other drivers that are new to the series, fellow Australian Daniel Bilski on screen, running in the AM class, Unfortunately, Parsons was hampered by that wet session, the second practice session, and didn't quite get the laps in he'd like. So he may have qualified a little bit further back than we might have expected to see the young open wheel star to be, but he's being very cautious and taking this opportunity with very careful steps, shall we say, to make sure that he is competitive. See Jackie Jung there in the background. He also, like Jeffrey Lee, has just competed in the opening round of the GT Asia Series. And Jackie, the reigning GTM class champion in the GT Asia Series, in an Audi R8 LMS Cup, in fact the very car he's driving this weekend, will be looking to make some sort of improvement on his past performances in the AM class. He's been quick, but is also, like many of the business people who are competing in the series, many of the what they call amateur or gentleman drivers, has to mix their pleasure with their business, and often that means a lack of laps and a lack of time. So it's nice for them to come to an event and actually spend some serious time behind the wheel, and one thing that the Audi R8 LMS Cup does is give you plenty of that. You see that beautiful high view of the Yongam circuit on the very southern tip of the South Korean peninsula. So 18 turns, long straight for the start, very slow, almost first gear, first turn, long straight down to turn 3, 800 metres long, another long straight down to turn 4. Then it gets harder. Turn 6, 7, 8, very high speed corners, or 7, 8 rather, very high speed corners. That's where some of the professional drivers will make up time, and it gets very tight and twisty across the last sector of the race. So here we're on the run from turn 2 to turn 3. The safety car, the Audi safety car, leading the field. The rear vision mirror chock full of Audi R8 LMS Cup cars. Jean-Carl Vernet, this will be his first run in the series, and he should be very quick. We should expect to see big things from him, but also Rahel Frey, no slouch in this series, has been on the podium a number of times. Of course, a former DTM, German touring car star, a favourite of the Audi factory, and a regular behind the wheel of an Audi R8 all over the world. So she's no slouch, and her pace, nearly 3 seconds quicker than her qualifying time from 12 months ago, suggests she knows the opportunity she's being faced with this weekend, and she will be ready to go. There's the hard-working Audi Customer Sport Racing team in the garages preparing for this race. Hopefully they won't need to be in action at all. We've seen a little bit of contact this weekend. Unfortunately for Kimi Chin, he had quite a big off during practice, but testament to the strength of the Audi R8. Whilst for many people they looked at photographs of the car and thought, well, that's the end of that one. The hard-working Absolute crew, the Audi Sport Customer Racing team, put the car back together in one piece and had it ready to go for the following session, and he was on the grid for qualifying earlier today. Probably a little bit further back than he would like, but many drivers will attest to being a little bit slower after impacts with either a wall or another car prior to returning to the grid. So he should get himself back up to speed over the course of the race. Nice to see Sam Locke back. He made his debut last time out driving for the Star Speed Racing team. Jean-Carl Vernet controls the field. Rahel Frey immediately behind. Then it is the two white, red and black Audi Sport R8s of KOU, the local hero, and Aditya Patel, who was essentially, you could say, the hero of the opening round at Zhuhai. Very impressive result from him. Very serious driver, very serious in the sense that he treats this the way it should be treated. He's focused on winning. He's focused on ensuring that he's in the best position he can be. He's focused on his training. He's also focused on his media awareness. So he's a very serious competitor when it comes to that, but also very relaxed away from the car. So much so, Rahel Frey fears him most, perhaps, in this championship, as being relaxed enough to know when to fire the car up the inside and when to ease off. So that was tall praise from somebody the calibre of Rahel Frey, and certainly Aditya Patel will take that on board. You see the cars getting into a line, 2 by 2. The race will be controlled once the stewards are happy that everybody is in line. Again, Jean-Carl Vernet controls the start, a rolling start, so they won't stop. They will continue over the control line. When Vernet is ready before the start-finish line, he will accelerate and hope to pull across in front of Rahel Frey on the run into turn 1. Of course, he's lucky in the sense that the first turn is a left-hander. It's an anti-clockwise rotation. He should have the line in, but often the ideal line is the outside line, so grip levels may be down. We'll soon see. He's across the line. You can see the field is still bunched up. In fact, there's a number of cars out of alignment. Will they give them the start? We have a green. Rahel Frey's got a better jump there on Jean-Carl Vernet, but he has the inside line. Who will dive up the inside? As Rio Fukuda in the double duck car of Marchi Lee has taken up from the third row. He's moved into position number 4, so he's made up positions already. So it's Vernet controls the field. He still leads from Rahel Frey, who's pushing. She will be looking to use some push to pass on this long straight down to turn 3 and try and take the position away as we see a car into the wall quite heavily further back. That's a very big hit. That is Thomas Fjordbach in the 54 car, right up behind Rahel Frey. He was one of the contenders for the opening round at Zhuhai, as we see more action further back in the field. That's a lot of frustration. That's Aditya Patel too further back, the number 8 car. So he's fallen back. The Audi team watch on. This field is very well spread out now. So that is Fjordbach now, the Danish driver who made his debut last time out at Zhuhai, was quite quick, involved in a couple of incidents, just trying to push himself a little bit hard. A GTM class competitor in the GT Asia series in the past. He's been quite quick and was very competitive in GT Asia here last year, so he has experience at this circuit. That's Daniel Bilski in the Be Quick Audi, but it's still Vernet, then it's Rahel Frey, then it's Thomas Fjordbach. Yellow flags waving as Alex Au has moved up the order in the blue and yellow CTVS car. You'll see that. That's the Michelin blue and yellow car, which has the American driver in it. That, of course, is Miles Moroney. We were talking about him earlier, having been one of the youngest drivers in the American Le Mans series in a prototype car. So safety car, which is what we feared. That will slow things down. There's Kimi Chin, we were talking about him earlier, had a nasty incident during practice, but there he is running around in the field just ahead of the yellow and black car there of Daniel Bilski. Kimi Chin's immediately behind Miles Maloney. So the field still under control by Jean-Carl Vernet, the Frenchman. They're under safety car conditions, so the safety car will pick them up. Officials will clear the circuit. So we'll have a look at the field after that opening lap. It was pretty messy. Vernet leads, Frey second, Thomas Fjordbach, as we pointed out, the Danish driver position 3. KOU still holds down position number 4, but it's Patel that has disappeared off the screens. Andrew Kim, AM-class driver, has done a very, very good job to move himself up to position 5. Ryo Fukuda, who's in the double duck, black and orange duck logo, Audi R8 of Marchi Lee, who of course is away at the Nürburgring this weekend, holds down position number 6. And it's Alex Au in the CTVS, the blue and yellow car, is in position number 7. He's second in the AM class behind Andrew Kim. Miles Moroney we were talking about in the Michelin car, the number 28 car. Then it's Jake Parsons, the Australian, in the car that won the opening round of the championship with Alex Jung behind the wheel. Kimi Chin holds down position 10. Then it's Daniel Bilski. Ashraf Dewell has been caught up off the start. He's back in position number 12. I'd expect to see him move forward. Jackie Jung, position 13. Jeffrey Lee is a little bit further back than he would like, but it was a very messy opening start to this first race, round 3 of the championship. Sam Locke is in position number 15. Aditya Patel is shown down in position number 16. I think I can just see him at the rear of the field. Jed Sai and Stefano Montesi, who may have been the car that was involved in that incident. He didn't look happy. He was very quick during practice. So if that's Stefano's car and he hasn't come round, so I'm assuming that's exactly who it is, then he has full reason to be displeased. He had an opportunity too to work his way up in the championship. Could have been his best season on record. But an experienced campaigner, and there is a long way to go in this series yet. This is only in round number 3 of 12 races. Of course, we will have a substitute race at some point in the next couple of rounds to compensate for the race that didn't go the distance at Zhuhai in China. Is that Aditya Patel? It looks as though it is Aditya Patel. It's the 98 car of Jed size. So it was Stefano Montesi who unfortunately has made quite heavy contact with the wall. But as we explained, Kimi Chin did a similar thing during practice, and that car is on track and firing quite comfortably for Kimi, holding down position number 10. So these Audi R8s, I wouldn't suggest anybody goes looking to make contact with anything behind the wheel of one of these gorgeous German thoroughbreds, but the reality is that they do take a beating and continue on. So whilst it may not look good, you might find that Stefano will be back on the grid for tomorrow's second race. So safety car lights are still on. You could see the recovery crew there still hasn't been able to move the car. This will have a bit of an impact on the race overall. Frustrating for the opening race of the round to see contact. But the problem with racing drivers is racing drivers like to go racing, and sometimes they don't agree on who deserves the piece of tarmac that they're trying to place their car on. The result of that, of course, is the cars end up tapped into other cars, or sadly, as we've seen in the case here with Stefano, it's likely he was involved in contact with another driver, and that has resulted in his elimination from this race. So Vernet controls the field. He'd be very comfortable in that position. The French driver, very experienced, former open wheel champion, former Carrera Cup France champion, and has been competitive, won his class at the Le Mans 24 Hours a couple of years ago, driving for the Porsche Matmut team. Rahel Frey, position number 2. Thomas Fjordbach has been a good start for him. Very serious competitor, only a young guy. The Dane races in the Blancpain Sprint Series with his older brother Anders. And they race, of course, in an Audi R8, so have plenty of experience. You see Stefano running across the circuit. Did that fairly briskly and needed to. The Anders Fjordbach and Thomas have been quite competitive. Now we're going to head down to pit lane and find out a little bit about what's going on from Mark.
As we saw on that opening lap, just in the first few turns, Stefano Montesi getting into a bit of trouble, hitting the wall, spinning around, staying out on the track, so they are now bringing him in. We'll try and get a word with Stefano to see what happened as soon as he comes in. Unfortunately, not too much more information than I can share, because we're all sort of waiting to hear, because he hasn't yet come in and the mechanics haven't been able to reach him. So as soon as there is any more updates on that, we'll bring it straight to you.
Thanks, Mark. Yes, we could see quite graphically that he hasn't returned unless he's got a long walk ahead of him. He's still out here on track making his way back to the garage, where he'll no doubt explain to Mark exactly what transpired. So this is ticking the clock over. There's now almost 10 minutes down. So we'll see whether or not they are recovered once the race goes green again. And Vernet comes under pressure. Now, we're talking a little bit about push to pass. That is one of the hallmarks of the Audi R8 LMS Cup. Now, what push to pass does is it allows drivers to effectively push a button, and it gives them an additional 50 horsepower in the car for up to 10 seconds. They have to choose when they're going to push that, and they have a limited number. So during the racing, there are 15 opportunities to hit the push to pass. So you can't just keep your finger on it, and you can't just fire them all off in one lap. You can, you have that choice, but the reality is you're going to need them at some point. These cars are all identical. Identical tyres, identical cars, identical engines. So what are your opportunities, apart from your own personal abilities, to actually affect a pass on a competitor? In many cases, the drivers are evenly matched. So the best thing to do is have that little extra advantage. Now, of course, they've all got that advantage. The trick is, where do you use it and when do you use it? So whilst Rahel Frey is sitting in position number 2, she might take the opportunity to use a number of her push to pass to get out of a slower corner potentially, fire past Jean-Carl Vernet and take the position away. Then she has to use her ability as a driver to make sure he stays in position behind her. But of course, he has the same opportunity. He might notice that Rahel Frey is ranging up beside him and effect a push to pass himself. and gain that opportunity as well. It's been a interesting introduction to the series 12 months ago of push to pass. The drivers took a little while to get the hang of it. They have the ability to use it during practice. They have the ability to use it during qualifying. But again, it is limited to the number of uses. So they have to choose whether they want to use it initially when the track may perhaps be greener. When we say green, it means that there's not a lot of rubber down on the circuit, so the grip levels might be lower. So the cars may not be as quick. But then you have the fear is if you leave it until a late session of the lap, that your opposition may have done exactly the same thing. So it's a game of strategy. It adds another element to the series that has been quite successful. Lights still on, unfortunately, for the safety car as it comes around again out of turn 18. So it looks like we will do another lap behind the safety car. As was explained earlier, there are some changes to the championship in 2015. One of them, quite obviously, was Superpole, where the top 8 competitors after the qualifying session have the ability to do one more lap, one flying lap out of pit lane, a flying lap, then a cool down lap. That flying lap is their opportunity to set a time. From those 8 times, the order is adjusted to who is quickest in that Superpole shootout. They may have, as we saw at the first round at Zhuhai, Rahel Frey qualified second or third from memory, but she used her push to pass and her strategy and her ability, of course, to take the pole position in the first ever Superpole. The second change is there are 2 sets of Michelin S9L tyres, the control tyre for the Audi R8 LMS Cup. There's the opportunity for the teams, whereas last year they were trying to stretch the life of the tyres. This year they have what many of the drivers regard as a much more durable, longer lasting tyre, and they have 2 sets of them. So it takes the whole consideration of tyre wear and tyre conservation completely out of the equation. The other one, of course, that is very different to past seasons, this is the 4th season of the Audi R8 LMS Cup, is the standing start in race 2. Doesn't happen a lot in GT competition these days. So they had to program themselves for the second race at Zhuhai to do a standing start. There was some concern about how it would work. Many of them hadn't done it before, so it worked perfectly. The only problem was they had to play into the equation. They knew there had been oil dropped down on the circuit beforehand, and there was a significant amount of sawdust down on the circuit. So whilst they were programming their minds to make a standing start and get away perfectly, and everybody did, all 20 cars left the grid in perfect order, they then had to consider that on the run into turn 1 there had been oil spilled. The ideal racing line was filled with sawdust, and they had to try and avoid contact and all get through as cleanly as possible. So they had to fix their focus on the conditions of the circuit pretty quickly after starting the race, which is a bit of a frustration. And again, we only got 2 laps in. The race was red flagged, so we didn't get to see quite how that would play out. There is also revised aero as a change for 2015. The rear wing is further back. But let's just take a quick look back at what the standings are after Zhuhai. Alex Jung sits on top, the reigning champion, 25 points. Rahel Frey, who starts on the front row for this race, holding position 2, 19 points. Aditya Patel, unfortunately for him, is now sitting in position 16, 15 points. Marchi Lee, he is over in the Nürburgring, the 2012 champion, 12 points. So that was your top 4. Patel will be frustrated, but he also understands that this is racing. All these guys understand this is racing. If they could all win every time, it'd probably get a bit boring, to be honest, but that would certainly be their choice. But they are competing against other people that want to do exactly the same thing. So ultimately you have things like conflict, you have things like contact, and you have to take that into the equation. It is a competitive sport. Sometimes it doesn't go the way you want it to go. The trick is being able to deal with that. Nice to see that we have the lights off. We're going to drop back to Mark very quickly and get an update from him.
But I do have some good news. The safety car we're just hearing will be coming in at the end of this lap, which means we will be back to racing in just a few moments' time. So hopefully we can have an exciting last few laps here, and we'll see what happens as we go. We'll keep you posted with everything down here in the pits.
Okay, so we're not far away now. Coming through the final few corners, the Audi R8 pace car will pull off. Jean-Carl Vernet is going to be under threat. He knows that. We're talking about push to pass. Will Rahel Frey use it? Will he use it? Will KOU fire through from further back? Thomas Fjordbach is holding position 3. KO is closing up onto his tail. He could be the one that fires up the inside on the run down to turn number 1. Tyres now have gone cold. The grip that they'd built up over that one lap that they contested has gone. So they have to consider that too. They can't dive as deeply into turn 1 as they may have done on lap 2, for instance. We're back to conditions very similar to the way the race started. So we'll see how this one plays out. Vernet's accelerated already. He's away. Rahel Frey's locked under his rear wing. She's seen him go and she's run with him as well. Unfortunately, it looks like Thomas Fjordbach's been caught a little bit sleeping. Now that looked like Rahel Frey had a guard rubbing on the rear. There's a little bit of smoke just coming through the corner. It could have been the fact that she was riding a curb and it's just put the tyre up under the guard. But Vernet has retained the lead. Fjordbach now is taking a look down the inside of Rahel Frey. Has he got through? He has got through. So the young Danish driver has taken away position number 2. Frey will be looking to use push to pass to come back past, but Fjordbach will be doing exactly the same thing as they fire down to turn 3. Behind, KOU has position, and that looks like Ryo Fukuda, the former BAR Honda Formula 1 test driver, in position number 5. No, in fact, he's in position number 6. So there's been some changes off the start. Frey runs very wide. That's Andrew Kim that's in position number 5, of course, the local driver, an AM driver, and here he is about to threaten Rahel Frey, one of the leading drivers in Audi's pool of drivers around the world. So that's a great run from Andrew Kim. You see him dive up the outside there. That's a very good. And you see, Frey has a problem. So there is a problem with that car, unfortunately. KOU's about to take the position away. In fact, she has a fire on board. There's a fire in the left rear of that car. So whether there's been a brake issue and something is dislodged and got very hot, but you can see flames through the rear vent there. So it could just be a brake fire. So she'll have to be mindful of that. That doesn't become a bigger problem. So Vernet is pulling ahead. It's further back in the field. No. Frey continues to fire. You see the flames there building up in the left rear wheel. So the officials are going to have to call her in. That is a problem that could only get worse. Alex Au working his way forward onto the tail of Andrew Kim. That is the battle for the AM class. Yes, you'd see a lot of smoke there now for Rahel Frey. She won't have any choice, unfortunately. This is not going to help her. It's certainly going to help Aditya Patel, probably her closest rival for this weekend, because he is running from further back in the field. He's working his way back through, still classified further back. We'll see how many positions he's made up. And Rahel has pulled off the throttle. She's out of it. She will pull into pit lane. So Thomas Fjordbach comfortable now in position number 2. In fact, he's 3.3 seconds up the road from KOU, so he's picked up an awful lot of ground. As Ryo Fukuda looking for an inside run inside Andrew Kim. Position hasn't been made. Daniel Bilski too has moved forward. He's now moved up into position number 9. Jake Parsons, the young Australian driving in Formula Masters China Series, he's holding down position number 8. So it's Vernet, Fjordbach, KOU, as you see. Unfortunately for Rahel Frey, I mean, it may not be retirement, but there's not going to be a lot of value now in continuing on. She's got the door open, probably safer to step out at the moment, but she will be back for race 2 tomorrow if she doesn't rejoin and complete some laps later in this race. Vernet is pushing on, a 2:11.3 on his first flying lap. Consider again the tyres were cold. As KOU is still holding down position number 3. Andrew Kim, position 4. So the 2 Korean drivers in P3 and P4. Ryo Fukuda, position number 5. Then it's Alex Au, the second in the AM class behind Andrew Kim. Kimi Chin, despite his incident the other day, has moved up to position number 7 ahead of the young Australian Jake Parsons making his debut. Now that's Ashraf Dewell in the purple and silver car. That's Aditya Patel starting to work his way through. Jeffrey Lee is immediately in front of him. So Patel has moved up to position number 12. The problem is he's 16 seconds back from Jean-Carl Vernet. He'd prefer to be tucked under the rear wing of the Frenchman, but that just hasn't played out in his favour. So Vernet comfortably clear. Fjordbach understands too that Verne isn't in the championship. Fjordbach is playing for a championship. There is an old adage that you may not want to win the battle, but you might want to win the war. So he will be mindful of the bigger picture. The bigger picture is he wants to figure in this championship. Now, two of his closest rivals, one is in pit lane. Unfortunately, it looks like she's gone into retirement. And the other, being Aditya Patel, is 14 seconds further back down the field. So Thomas Fjordbach may not move in and challenge Jean-Carl Verne because really for the championship there is no need. Verne's just punched out a 2:09.022, not too far off his qualifying time, so the Frenchman is comfortable in front. Fjordbach, a high 2:10, and KOU has done a very low 2:11, so he's maintained the gap to Fjordbach. Fjordbach is comfortable in position. Andrew Kim, a 2:11.4, so almost matching the pace of his compatriot, but a little bit further back. Rio Fukuda, driving Marchi Lee's car, position number 5. Now, he's a very accomplished GT driver as well. Got the late call up to replace Marchi. Marchi's a good friend of his. The Japanese driver, as we say, has driven in Formula One. So we believe we've got Mark down in pit lane with Rahel Frey.
Obviously a disappointment for you. Was there a problem that had happened earlier in the race, or was it after the restart when the safety car went back in?
No, it was just after the restart. I mean, the start was fine. It was okay after the restart. I don't know exactly what happened. Immediately after the restart in turn 1, I lost the servo control for the steering. And then I tried to continue without the servo support. And then I really don't know, because temporary were still in the right window. And then I just had no power anymore, and actually, I don't know what happened, honestly. It's just really, really frustrating.
Great, thanks for your help. Better luck tomorrow. Thanks, you guys.
Well, that explains exactly what's gone on from Rahel Frey's mouth, as we see Aditya Patel moving in on the back of Jeffrey Lee. Now, we're talking about the speed differential between the drivers. There's not a huge difference here between Jeffrey Lee, a seasoned campaigner in these cars, and Aditya Patel. Patel hasn't really made up any ground. That comes down to the fact that these cars are very closely matched, and many of the drivers, whether gentlemen drivers, AM drivers, or pros, are very closely matched on performance. And that is being played out here in front of Aditya Patel, who showed with no question at Zhuhai that he is one of the rising stars of the Audi R8 LMS Cup. That is Daniel Bilski, the Australian, in the AM class immediately in front. Now, is that Sam Locke that's suddenly going very, very slow? The livery appears to be very similar. He was immediately in front of them. We'll soon find out on the timing monitor. As Verne punches out another low 2:10. Fjordbach, position number 2 still. Andrew Kim has moved through to position number 3. Now, what that means is KOU. That's KOU who's rolling around slowly. Now, if we think about the liveries of the cars, some of them are similar. That explains why he now does not appear on the timing monitor above position number 11. Now he's in position number 12. So that's KOU, the local star, who's had a drama there. So that's moved his compatriot, Andrew Kim, through into position number 3. That was Kimi Chin we saw on screen. He's now moved up to position number 5. So that is one very impressive recovery from what looked like an almost terminal incident during practice. So Kimmy's lost none of his pace, and it certainly hasn't deterred him in any way as he's worked his way up the order. There's Kimmy, car number 6. Immediately behind him is Alex Au, one of the stars of the AM class. He's struggling at the moment to maintain the pace against Andrew Kim. When people talk about the AM class in the Audi R8 LMS Cup, they talk about the amazing speed of Alex Au. And unfortunately for him, this weekend he's come up against a fellow AM class driver in Andrew Kim. And Andrew, last time around, 2:10.7. Alex Au, a 2:13.5. The difference between them on track is about 8 seconds. So Andrew Kim's using his local knowledge, despite the fact he may not have much. He certainly does have some. He's using it to good effect. So Alex Au is applying a little bit of pressure now to the rear of Kimi Chin. So who takes advantage of the layout the way it is at the moment? Who is going to take advantage of Aditya Patel down in position number 10? Rahel Frey sitting in pit lane. Well, the ultimate choice is Thomas Fjordbach. He's a little bit further back in the championship points, but he's now holding down position number 2. If you talk about the series regulars, that essentially makes him position number 1. Now, Mark has Jake Parsons, who has also disappeared off the timing sheet. We'll have a chat to him and find out what's going on.
Jake, unfortunately unable to complete on your debut race. Tell us what happened.
Yeah, we were off to a great start there. Started in P14 and I got up to P9, so 5 spots there. I was really happy with how it was going. And coming into turn 3, I went to hit the apex and then I got hit in the rear. So the car got turned around and I took off again, but the wheel was bent. So obviously there's some damage in there, some internal stuff. So bit of a shame, but I took the positives out of it. The car was feeling really good, and yeah, made a great start as well. So looking good for the next race.
Thanks, Jake. Okay, back to you guys.
Great job by Jake Parsons up to that point, up to position number 9. Unfortunately for the young Australian, leading the Formula Masters China Series, another part of the Volkswagen Group. This opportunity gives us the Audi Group gives the opportunity for young drivers like that to step into an opportunity like there is this weekend, where 4 of the star drivers unfortunately are unable to take their position in the championship. Sean Tong, of course, was only off in a he made a one-off appearance at the first round at Zhuhai. He races now in the Audi TT Cup, which made its first ever start. It was an historic moment for him just a couple of weeks ago before his run at the Nürburgring. Unfortunately, despite qualifying pretty well, he faced, much like Jake Parsons, the wrath of a number of drivers trying to battle over the same piece of tarmac, again in identical cars, the Audi TT. So he didn't get the opportunity to show what we know that Sean Tong is capable of, but he will over the course of the year. So we may not see him back in the Audi R8 LMS Cup, but certainly Alex Jung will be very keen to get back in and continue on his championship assault. So too Frankie Cheng and Marchi Lee. A couple of champions in that list, but they're not here this weekend, and there's plenty of opportunity for the drivers like the man on screen, Thomas Fjordbach, to make up position and move themselves forward in the championship. And they'll do that with everything they have. So unfortunate that young Jake Parsons is out for this race, but we will see him back for race 2. That looks like it may well be Andrew Kim, car number 5, the E-Rain Racing Team car. He has some open wheel experience, so he's not a complete novice, but certainly at this level, he is making his debut in Audi R8 LMS Cup. So field starting to spread out a little bit, but Verne, we expect, would push on. He is a professional in a GT car. As we said earlier, he is a former Indy Lights champion in the United States, the open wheel category, has run a number of open wheel categories over the years. Kimi Chin and Alex Au are now joined by Ashraf Dewell. We saw Ashraf further back than we would have expected early in the race, but now he's mounting a bit of a charge. Last time round, if we just check the timing monitor, 2:12 for Ashraf, and both Kimi and Alex are in the 2:13, so he has made up some time. He may be using push to pass, so it may be disguised. His pace may be disguised by that fact that he's got an extra 50 horsepower still under his fingertips. No sense finishing the race with the power left. Push to pass needs to be used during the race. Alex Au and inevitable contact. Sorry, but it looked like he wasn't quite far enough up the inside, and Kimi, unsighted, turned into his racing line and just clipped the front of Alex Au. Now that's helped Ashraf Dewell's momentum forward. He's now right onto the tail of Alex Au. And that will be a frustrated Kimi Chin, who is driving brilliantly to move himself up into position 5 after a pretty hefty knock in practice on Friday. And he's now sitting turned in the wrong direction, trying to refire the car. As we've seen time and time again, these Audi R8s are pretty tough, so it's not going to be a lot of time before. Oh, now we've got dramas here. Now, whether Alex Au has something broken under the rear of the car, you could see sparks coming through as he turned into the corner. Dewell probably was trying to avoid what he may have felt could have been a spinning Alex Au. Au's pace has dropped right off, so he knows he has a problem. So that contact with Kimi Chin has also cost him position. It wasn't, you couldn't imagine it was intentional, as that looks like Aditya Patel still under the rear wing of Jeffrey Lee. So both of them have moved forward. So this has worked into Aditya Patel's hands. There can't be too many laps left. He'd be desperate to make up another position and get past Jeffrey Lee before this race. So as they come across the line, they're in positions number 6 and 7. And you see Patel fire down the inside into the braking mark, pulls the car up, turns in, takes the position away. probably saved his push to pass knowing he had that opportunity. Now Jeffrey Lee may have an opportunity in this long straight between turns 2 and 3 to fire back past. So Dewell has moved himself up into position 5, which is a fantastic recovery from being well down the order after the dramas off the start. See, Daniel Bilski too has done a great job, the AM class driver. He will be 3rd in AM class and position 8 on track. Jeffrey Lee's not finished with this yet. The J-Fly Racing driver is very keen to take that position back. And behind them, Daniel Bilski is just in a watching brief. Miles Moroney, the American driver, still in position number 9. Not a bad run on his debut in the series. Alex Au is shown in position number 10, but he's also just been shown in pit lane. So unfortunately for him, that will be frustration. That will move Jackie Jung forward. The reigning GTM class champion in the GT Asia series has done a good job working his way through the field. He's moved himself up into a top 10 finish. So it's Verne still leads by 7 seconds over Thomas Fjordbach. Andrew Kim, another 5 seconds back in position number 3. So he'll make the podium and take the AM class victory on his debut in Audi R8 LMS Cup. He will be a competitor within the series over the remaining rounds of this year's championship. We're only at round 3 of what will be 11 rounds, and there we have the checkered flag. So Jean-Carl Verne takes victory on debut. Thomas Fjordbach, you will expect, will come across the line in position number 2. So the Frenchman has taken victory. Great result for Thomas Fjordbach, who by virtue of being the first series regular home, essentially wins, we will say, the round for the series regulars. Andrew Kim on debut, position number 3. That's a great result for him, and victory in AM class. Ryo Fukuda looking after Marchi Lee's double duck Audi R8 takes position number 4, and Ashraf Dewal mounts a fantastic recovery to take position 5. Patel, position number 6, which is a great result considering how lap 1 played out. Jeffrey Lee, position number 7. Daniel Bilski will take position 8 and 3rd in the AM class. Miles Moroney moves up to position 9. Alex Au is still classified as position number 10. It may be altered later. Jackie Jung finishes behind him. Kimmy Chin, Sam Locke and Jed Sai. KOU unfortunately didn't regroup and make the finish. Jacob Parsons, of course, was a retirement. Rahel Frey, we saw her unfortunately have to pull out, which what may have been debris caused an issue, and cut lines. Often carbon fibre shards can create dramas for drivers, for tyres, and also for cut oil lines. And Stefano Montesi, we saw him unfortunately turned around on the run down to turn 3. So that's your first race here from Korea International Circuit. Round 3 of the championship. We don't have Alex Jung, we don't have Frankie Cheng, and we don't have Marchi Lee. So there's a good opportunity for drivers like Thomas Fjordbach, who has finished 2nd in this race in his 3rd ever start in the Audi R8 LMS Cup, to gain valuable championship points and move himself up the order. What that means, of course, is that Marchi Lee and Alex Jung and Frankie Cheng have their work cut out for them when they return from the Nürburgring 24-hour race. So it wasn't a bad start. Unfortunately, we had that contact on the opening lap. That laid the foundations for the safety car to spend plenty of time on circuit whilst they had to return Stefano Montesi's car to the garage area, and that opened things up for Verne to spear off into the distance. Rahel Frey was right on his tail immediately after the safety car, but unfortunately for her there was some issue which you would almost pin dollars on being a debris issue. Caused an oil line or something in the rear of the car to cause her a problem. She had to pull into pit lane and effectively retirement, but she will be back tomorrow. But amazing run too from Andrew Kim. Very happy Jean-Carl Verne. He's been here before. He was on the top step of the podium in the Blancpain Endurance Series just a couple of weeks ago with his WRT Audi R8 teammates. So this is not a feeling that is unusual to the Frenchman. Great result from him. Getting ready to head down to pit lane shortly. Sophie will be talking to our winners, and they should be very, very pleased. Then heading down to Sophie in pit lane.
JK, congratulations! The dream result on your debut, and And how hard was it to keep stable, especially during those safety car laps?
Yeah, I mean, it was fine. The first start was pretty good, and then I saw a crash in the back straight. I hope the driver is fine. And then the restart was pretty okay. I saw Rael going very wide in the first corner, so I had some gap after this first corner, and then I tried to push to make a good lap on tomorrow, to have a good position on the grid. And then I managed to my gap with the second driver until the end. But no, the car was really good. I really enjoyed driving this R8. It's pretty cool, and I love this track, so I mean, I had really a lot of fun.
Good luck and congratulations again. And back to our commentator.
Nice result for Jean-Carl Vernet. He does a great job every time he gets in the car. The unfortunate result of him winning is he carries a 50-kilo weight penalty by virtue of having taken that win into tomorrow's race. Thomas Fjordbach, he will carry a 35-kilo penalty, and Andrew Kim 15. So there is some issue for them for heading into tomorrow's race. Back down to pit lane and Sophie.
Hi, Thomas. And you moved 4 places from the start. What was your key to the race today?
What happened? I was like, see what it will happen, because my pace was actually enough for second place, I guess. So I was really lucky. I made a good start, and I saw just after the safety car something was burning in Rael's car, and already there I know that something will happen, and then I will at least overtake her. But I was worried about the cars behind, but I think he did a mistake, and I had a really good gap, so I'm really happy.
Thank you so much, and it's our time to back to our commentator.
Great result for Thomas Fjordbach. He is a talented young driver, also races in the Blancpain Sprint Series with his older brother Anders driving an Audi R8. So he's well versed at how these cars operate. He was also on the podium here last year in the GTM class, the GT Asia, so no stranger to the podium. So nice result, Jean-Carl Vernet. Nice to see him on the top step on his debut. And back down to Sophie in pit lane.
Andre, incredible result for you, and could you please put into words how what it means to you?
It's really amazing and fantastic and tremendous. I feel really good and really satisfied with the result, and it's my first race in Audi LMS Cup, so I'm happy with the result, and I'll try more hard to go up to the first as well.
Thank you so much, and it's our time to back to our commentator.
Thank you.
It is a nice result to see somebody make their debut in the series. We expect someone of the calibre of Jean-Carl Vernet to be competitive and potentially even win. But for Andrew Kim, relatively inexperienced driver, okay, he may have done some miles around here in the past, but he's also an amateur driver. This isn't his profession. Jean-Carl Vernet flies around the world as a professional racing driver, so that is great to see an outright result like that. To see Andrew Kim make the podium on his debut, the local driver in the Audi R8 LMS Cup. We will, of course, see him as the victor of the AM class in Audi R8 LMS Cup for this round. He will be joined on the podium by Ashraf Diwal, who worked his way through the Malaysian driver onto the podium, position number 2. And third overall, Daniel Bilski, the Australian, who's also racing in the Thailand for the outright and the AM class. For his debut, Andrew Kim's going to pick up plenty of silverware. He will take both the third-placed outright trophy and the Victor's Trophy for the AM class on his debut here. And it's pretty impressive to say somebody's going to debut and take away a victory in a championship in its 4th season as competitive as Audi R8 LMS Cup. Yes, we talk about many of the drivers not having experience at the Korea International Circuit, but these guys are very well versed in the performance of the Audi R8, so they're pretty competitive. What that does is put well into perspective Andrew Kim's performance. So whilst you say, oh, he's done a good job, and maybe he's been a bit lucky, he's certainly driven very, very well and showed against drivers the calibre of Rio Fukuda, who is subbing for Marchi Lee in the double duck car. He has former Formula One experience, and there we are. Andrew Kim celebrating. Yep, where do I go now? Top step of the podium, mate, not third. Well, third outright perhaps, but he would be on the top step soon enough. Made a slight slip there. I saw Daniel Bilski walking down towards the podium, as he won't be up until the AM class guys are called. Thomas Fjordbak, the young driver from Denmark, has done a good job, and he'll be very pleased with that points haul. It may not be so pleasing to carry the 35 kilogram weight penalty tomorrow. That'll slow him down a little bit, but he had a fairly long face after the opening round in Zhuhai. But Jean Calverne, victory to him. So his results behind the wheel of an Audi R8 this year have been impeccable. Of course, on the podium with victory in the Blancpain Endurance Series in Europe just recently at the Monza circuit, 3-hour race. So he's getting used to this, and no doubt the used to the taste of champagne. He'll be looking forward to seeing more of that this year. Whether we see him again in Audi R8 LMS Cup, we'll soon see. He is in Asia competing in the GT Asia Series, so he is out here. He does have a fairly heavy campaign, but gets the chance to listen to the French national anthem. He may have won, but you can see he's quite hot under the hat. He's worked for the job. He's punching out some laps in the 209s, which he qualified in the high 208s, so that's pretty competitive. Drivers like this like to keep pushing themselves. There's no real sense in just opening up a gap and sitting there. He kept punching out seriously consistent laps in the low to mid 210s throughout the final laps of the race. And Thomas Fjordbak can't be too disappointed with his performance either. He was almost matching Verne on pace during the middle stanza of the race, but obviously Verne wasn't pushed with Fjordbak 4 or 5 seconds further back down the road. And Andrew Kim, likewise, he was doing a fantastic job. In fact, his last lap was a 2:11. It's only 7/10 slower than JK, and that's pretty impressive for a driver whose resume has the word amateur next to his name. So he's done a great job. We will probably be seeing more of him this year, certainly on the AM class podium. Whether or not he has the opportunity again to be on the outright podium, we'll soon see. Yes, he's had experience here, but so have many of the other drivers, and he still managed to work his way through and get himself a podium result and take victory in the AM class. So great job for him, fantastic result. But for JK Verne, that's another #1 podium trophy to put on the mantelpiece, and he'd be very happy with that. So we talk about Rio Fukuda, former BAR Honda Formula 1 test driver, finished in position 4. Ashraf Diwal was in position #5 and second in the AM class. We'll see him again shortly. He made the podium last time out in Zhuhai. Ditya Patel worked his way through to position #6. It was a good result. In the end, you can see it took him a number of laps to work his way past Jeffrey Lee. Daniel Bilski, the Australian, who will be third in the AM class. We'll see him shortly, position #8. Miles Moroney on his debut in the series, the young American driver. A little bit of experience with Porsche GT cars in his home country. Kimi Chin was up to position #5 during the race, but unfortunately for him, he had that contact late in the race in a battle with Ashraf Diwal and Alex Au. In the end, it cost both Kimi and Alex Au track position, and ultimately Alex Au was forced to pull into pit lane. You could see sparks coming from the rear of the rear of the car, so it may have broken a trailing arm in the rear suspension, and that forced him out of the race. He joined KOU, unfortunately. The local star was holding down position 3 early in the race. Jake Parsons, the young Australian, he was also forced into pit lane. We heard from him with Mark earlier. Contact eliminated him from the race. Rahel Frey, we saw the fire, quite graphic scenes of the fire in the rear of the car. She's not sure whether it was perhaps an oil line or something has broken. It may have been debris from the circuit, and that opening lap accident that brought out the safety car from Stefano Montesi. It's champagne time. Will they get carried away? Are they mindful they have to wear these race suits again tomorrow? JK's, yes, he's being mindful that he has to wear that suit tomorrow. He doesn't want to make it too sticky. So a quick mouthful of the winner's fluid, and back into preparation modes for race 2 tomorrow. but certainly a nice result from the young French driver. And another impressive result too for Thomas Fjordbach, and very, very impressive by Andrew Kim, the young local driver, and he will be back here with us shortly as the winner of the AM class for round 3 of Audi R8 LMS Cup. Photo opportunity. Get the team in there. Patrick Diaz, the regional manager of Michelin Tyres, just trying to find his way onto a step. A photograph that will sit proudly as a screensaver on a number of computers around the country, I'm sure. And here he is again. Andrew Kim takes victory for the AM class. He knows what he needs to do now. He's had one run at the podium. Stands on the top step. To his left, right on screen for us, third place getter Daniel Bilski, and Ashraf Diwal standing alongside. So to hear the South Korean national anthem, that will be a great moment for Andrew Kim. And would have been frustration for KOU, who may well have hoped to be on the podium himself and hear the outright result for him, but unfortunately that wasn't to be. So a nice result for Andrew Kim. Second podium for Ashraf Diwal, which will put him right in the hunt for the AM Class Championship. And Daniel Bilski was hopeful to make the podium, not 100% committed that was going to be the case when I spoke to him on Friday morning, but he's come through for a nice result for the Thailand Run Be Quick racing team. And that team this year is preparing and maintaining that car for Bilski, which is an opportunity that's been afforded to teams outside of the Audi Sport Customer Racing family this year for the first time, and to have them finish on the podium in position number 3 will be a result that'll be very well accepted by the Be Quick team. So nice for them to have that opportunity. Tomorrow, of course, we get to do it all again. Hopefully, we have the safety car issue out of the way. We've seen the first and last of that for the weekend, and the drivers can actually get to follow through and really push to get to the finish. KOU will be very keen to make amends for the disappointment as the boys go for the champagne. See whether or not they'll be just as mindful as the outright drivers to not drown themselves, but Andrew knows what to expect. He's getting exit stage left. He's got it worked out now. This might be something that will be regular occurrence for him in future. And Daniel Bilski's just making sure that he's going to be a little less comfortable tomorrow when he fires up and tries to back up with another victory in the AM class for the weekend. So a nice overall result. Outright one more time, Jean-Carl Vernet, Thomas Fjordbach, Andrew Kim, who we saw, also won the AM class. Rio Fukuda, position number 4, Ashraf Diwal. Aditya Patel recovered from a drama on the opening lap to finish in position number 6. Jeffrey Lee, position number 7, and Daniel Bilski, position number 8. Heading down to speak to Sophie, back down in pit lane.
Some new faces after an exciting race, but please do remember to join us tomorrow morning for Run 4 of 2015 Audi R8 LMS Cup.